During a family vacation, our car was involved in a serious crash. Summoning all my strength, I managed to pull my mother, father, and brother out from beneath the wreckage. But their only concern was getting my sister, Lily, who had a fractured leg, to the nearest hospital. They left me stranded on the mountainous roadside, believing I was just lucky, that my injuries were minor. They didn't notice the swelling on my face or my blue lips. They didn't see the oil leaking from the car either. Later, Lily passed away in the VIP section of the city's top hospital. Each family member reacted differently. My biological mother sat beside Lily's bed, her eyes wide with disbelief, unable to accept what the police officer had said. Ethan, who had always resented me, also looked stunned. For once, I noticed a flicker of panic in his usually cold gaze. Maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding. After all, the day before, when we had descended the mountainside together, Lily had clearly been fine. I hovered above, watching my older brother with a sardonic and bitter smile. I finally understood why they were so insistent on this version of events. They had always trusted their own judgments above all else. 3 days earlier, after Lily expressed envy over her classmates' family outings, my mom, who normally disliked the isolation of the mountains, suggested a camping trip and picnic at a nearby peak. Since Dad was unavailable, the 4 of us set out in 2 vehicles. As we drove toward the mountainside and prepared to stop for a break, the car suddenly lost control and crashed into a rocky barrier. Mom and my brother Nathan, who were in the front seats, were knocked unconscious immediately. I only felt a sharp impact on my chest and back, but the pain quickly subsided, leaving my mind unusually clear. I got out of the car and looked around at the now mangled vehicle, the shattered windshield. There was no time to think. My only concern was rescuing my trapped and injured family from the smoking, potentially exploding car. Fortunately, Mom and Nathan were cushioned by the airbags and only suffered minor injuries along with unconsciousness. As I helped them out, Nathan regained consciousness first. His first action was grabbing my collar and urgently asking where Lily was, if she was still inside. I glanced at Lily, whom I hadn't yet freed, and nodded. In the next instant, he shoved me aside forcefully, causing me to collapse onto the ground. My back struck a piece of debris sharply. I groaned in agony as a searing pain radiated from my back throughout my body. I turned ghostly pale and couldn't stand upright. The pain was overwhelming, making it hard to think about anything else, but Nathan shouted from the car door, "Why are you just standing there? Lily's leg is stuck between the seats. Come help." Maybe his loud voice roused Mom from her brief unconsciousness. Seeing me immobile, Nathan gave me a disgusted look before turning to alert her. "Mom, hurry. Lily's leg is caught in the seat gap. It might be broken. You both need to act fast." The 2 of them, just waking up, rushed to the car. Upon hearing that Lily was injured, they disregarded their own possible injuries and carefully lifted the pale, pain-stricken girl out of the car, gently placing her on the ground. "Mom, Dad, I'm in so much pain," Lily whispered. Her face, always delicate like a fragile blooming flower, looked even more vulnerable. The 3 of them showed deep concern for her. No one paid attention to me, the one who had just rescued them and was now sitting on the ground, unable to stand straight from the pain. Something felt wrong. My limbs began to grow cold. I weakly reached out to them, calling out multiple times before they finally noticed me. "Mom, call for an ambulance. Quickly, hurry." At my urging, they eventually took out their phones and dialed for help. But after the call, they only asked if I was okay as a formality. When I shook my head, they turned back to comfort Lily. A sense of bitterness pierced my heart. I hadn't expected any gratitude from them, but it would have been better if they had asked a few more times. But they didn't. Their attention remained solely on Lily from beginning to end. The ambulance arrived shortly, and they hurried Lily inside. It was only then they realized the issue. Lily's leg was likely broken, preventing her from sitting normally and requiring her to lie across the seats. This left no space for me in the ambulance. Mom gave me an embarrassed glance after quickly assessing that I wasn't seriously injured. I'm sorry, Ava, but Lily is severely hurt. We have to take her to the hospital first. You understand, right? I lowered my eyes, feeling a sharp pain in my heart. I clenched my fists, wanting to loudly question why they were abandoning me once more. Then I heard Lily's voice from inside the ambulance. Mom, it hurts. Is Lily going to die? Mom, stop talking to her and get to the hospital quickly. Nathan, holding the constantly crying Lily, looked anxious and worried. Ava, take a taxi to the hospital yourself. Hearing Lily's cries, there was no longer any trace of guilt on Mom's face. She slammed the ambulance door shut and urged the driver to speed to the hospital. The ambulance sped away like an arrow, soon disappearing from my view, just as it had years ago. But I'm hurt too. I'm your daughter too. Why are you leaving me again? My heart grew as cold as my hands and feet. They were entirely focused on getting Lily to the hospital and told me to take a taxi home. Did they even consider that we were in a remote area where getting a taxi was nearly impossible? I had to endure the pain and walk down the mountain step by step. Each step was agonizing. I kept replaying everything that had happened. I didn't know how far I had walked, but I couldn't continue any longer. I leaned against a tree, and my consciousness began to fade. I heard a loud explosion echo from halfway up the mountain, and then I lost consciousness entirely, closing my eyes forever. I died from a ruptured spleen. To the naked eye, everything seemed fine. If they had called the police or an ambulance instead of using a private vehicle, maybe I would still be alive. When the police bluntly announced my cause of death and questioned him in front of everyone, Mom hesitated and almost immediately collapsed to the ground. Dad rushed over as soon as he received the news. He learned about my death just as he reached the doorway. In that moment, he seemed almost furious, grabbing Mom by the shoulders and shouting at her. Didn't I tell you not to go? Why didn't you listen? Why did you leave the house and go to the mountains? Don't you know Ava once got lost and has trauma about the mountain? Couldn't you think about her even once? Maybe it was too much for her. Under Dad's interrogation, Mom rolled her eyes and fainted. When she regained consciousness, she insisted on going to the police station despite Dad and Nathan's attempts to stop her. She knelt in front of my lifeless body, crying until she almost passed out again. I floated above, watching my body lie in the morgue. Seeing her hold my cold hand and cry, Ava, Mom is sorry. I'm here to take you home. How ironic. The one who abandoned me was now crying and saying she wanted to take me home. But where was my home now? The home she referred to might still exist, but there was no place for me there. Sorry, you can't take Ava's body just yet. What do you mean? Mom, with tears in her eyes, looked at the man in the white coat. Why can't I take my daughter's body? My daughter died in an accident. If I sign, we should be able to bring her home. Mom frowned and stared at the man, her eyes wide. But the man in the white coat remained unfazed by her questioning. He pushed up his glasses and said coldly, 2 years ago, Miss Ava, as a volunteer, participated in a national secret research project. A few days ago, the project made significant progress. Miss Ava signed a contract with us to be the first participant in this global release. But what does this have to do with us taking Ava's body? Mom stood up, her voice filled with emotion. Even if she signed a contract with you during her life, she's dead now. Are you still going to use her body for experiments? This is inhumane. It's deeply disrespectful to the deceased. I won't allow you to treat my child this way. Mom stood firm in front of my body. I floated above, feeling a mix of pity and irony. Despite being just a soul, this was the first time my mother defended me like this, and it was after my death. I'm taking my daughter with me. If you stop me, I'll have our company's lawyers sue you immediately. She pulled out her phone, ready to call the funeral home. But before she could dial, a large hand grabbed her phone, halting her. I agreed to it. What? Mom looked at Dad in disbelief. I said Ava joined the project and donated her body. I agreed to it. Dad's tone was calm but distant. He looked at Mom as if she were a stranger. Mom's disbelief turned to anger. Michael, Ava is your daughter. How can you let them use her body for experiments? Even if Ava didn't understand, how could you, her father, allow this? Mom clenched her fists and pounded on Dad's chest. Watching this scene, my heart ached. I floated down, trying to shield Dad from the blows, but it was futile. I knew it must hurt, but his expression remained unchanged. As her father, I owed her so much. So I tried to fulfill her few requests. His tone was indifferent as he pushed Mom away. Just this once, can't you understand her? After that, Dad glanced at me and then left, leaving Mom in tears. I had donated my body to become the first subject in memory extraction experiments. A day later, my memories would be broadcast globally as a scientific achievement. I followed my devastated mother back to the hospital, wondering what Nathan and Lily would think when they heard my memories would be released worldwide. As expected, their reactions were priceless. The moment they heard the news from Mom, Ava, as always, never gave people a moment's peace. If she felt unwell, she could have told us. Why did she have to hold on and delay her own demise? Mom sat by the hospital bed looking exhausted with red eyes, but her words were full of blame. Exactly. Even in death, she doesn't let people rest, always doing such terrible things. Nathan murmured, completely unaware of Lily's extremely pale face on the bed. Was that memory extraction experiment really real? I've never heard of anything like that. Why does Dad always indulge Ava in doing such dangerous things? Lily's voice was filled with worry as she finally spoke, but her eyes revealed a hint of anxiety and unease. The hospital room fell silent. Each person was lost in their thoughts, like the calm before a storm. Mom seemed to sense the tension in the room, so she moved to the sofa in the waiting area and picked up the remote to watch TV. But as soon as she turned it on, the screen displayed a report about the upcoming memory extraction research conference scheduled for the next day. Not just the TV news, but social media was also flooded with coverage of this research breakthrough. If memory extraction technology could be perfected and made widespread, it would be a monumental achievement for the entire world and human society. Countless media outlets and streaming services announced they would cover the entire event live the next day. Everyone was eager to witness this historic moment. A day passed in the blink of an eye. Inside the VIP hospital room, the atmosphere was icy cold. It was already time for the conference to start, but no one turned on the TV. Mom, Dad, don't you want to see Ava's memories before she passed? Nathan asked cautiously, feeling his anxiety rise. In the struggle, Nathan suddenly let go, and I lost my balance. With the slippery mud beneath me, I tumbled backward down the almost vertical slope. My ankle hit a tombstone hard. I lay on the ground, unable to move. The pain was unbearable. I couldn't even scream. Everything blurred around me, and through the haze, I caught a glimpse of Nathan standing on the hill above me. He looked really panicked, but I couldn't make out his expression clearly. In the last moment before losing consciousness, I saw him turn and sprint away as fast as an arrow. Then everything went black. Back in the hospital room, Mom stared at Nathan, her eyes red, filled with guilt and panic. Her voice cracked as she asked, "Didn't you tell me Ava went to find your dad? Do you know how worried we were? Why did you lie to us, to your dad? You made Ava fall down there. Why didn't you tell us the truth when you came back? Why did you lie?" She slapped Nathan across the face. "I didn't know how long they searched for me back then," I whispered, watching from above. But I understood why Nathan lied. He was afraid of getting scolded, so he kept quiet. When they couldn't find me, he became even more scared and continued the lie. "I didn't mean to," Nathan's voice trembled. "I thought she was dead. I wanted to tell you, but you guys called the cops without even asking. I was scared they'd arrest me for killing someone." His hands covered his face, looking somewhat grieved. But then his tone changed abruptly. "But it's not entirely my fault. If she had agreed to take me back first, we wouldn't have been arguing there. It's her own fault." His neck stiffened as he spoke with forced righteousness. Mom's eyes widened in shock. Once again, Nathan was trying to shift blame. She trembled with anger and raised her hand to slap him again. But just as it rose, the dark TV screen flickered back to life. On the screen, I slowly woke up from unconsciousness. I tried to move and began calling for help, but no one answered. Gritting my teeth, I used every bit of strength I had to grab onto a tree trunk and slowly climb up. Several times I almost slipped and rolled back down from exhaustion or a misstep. The scene was nerve-wracking. Finally, when my last bit of strength was spent, I made it up. I followed the path in my memory back to the campsite, only to find it completely deserted. I stood there for a long time, and the tears I had held back finally fell. But I held on to a sliver of hope. I believed my parents and brother would never leave me behind. So I started hobbling down the mountain the way we had come. Sure enough, I saw them preparing to drive away where they had parked the car. Excitedly, I wanted to rush toward them, but my injured ankle wouldn't let me. I shouted as loud as I could, hoping they would hear me. "Dad, Mom, I'm here. Don't leave me." I walked as fast as I could through the pain, crying out, but it seemed like they didn't hear. The car started moving, and I watched helplessly as it got farther and farther away. Panic surged inside me. I was scared they were really going to leave me. I didn't want to give up. I chased the car, hoping someone would notice me. Then Lily looked back in my direction. My heart swelled with hope. I raised my hand high and waved furiously. But as soon as she saw me, she turned back inside and closed the window. The car didn't stop. I watched helplessly as it drove farther and farther away, finally disappearing from my sight. This was the first time they left me behind, and they left me for 6 whole years. The hospital room remained deafeningly silent. Mom stared at the TV unresponsively because my memories continued playing. It clearly showed how I was lured into a car after being abandoned. How I was tied up and locked in a dark, suffocating room. How I ate scraps and drank dirty water, treated like merchandise and trafficked to another city hundreds of kilometers away. At the age of 9, when I should have been building self-confidence and dignity, I was confined in a cage without respect, waiting to be sold like livestock. I couldn't recall how I survived those darkest days. What kept me going was my imagination. My belief that my parents would come to save me. I believed they would never give up on me. That belief got me through 6 long years. But what caused my suffering? Who was the source of my misery? I never truly understood why my brother and sister would do this to me. Why? Lily pressed her lips together, her voice trembling, her face pale. She probably never imagined the secret she had buried for 8 years would be exposed like this. "I admit I saw someone waving at me," Lily finally said, her eyes red with tears falling onto the bedspread. "But I didn't know it was Ava." She looked so innocent. "Dad, Mom, believe me, if I had known it was Ava, I would have told you to stop the car. She's been so good to me. How could I leave her behind?" As Lily spoke, she covertly tugged on Nathan's sleeve. Nathan flinched slightly but quickly chimed in. "Yeah, Mom. Lily might be a bit willful, but she wouldn't do something like this. Maybe we should just stop watching." He reached for the remote, but before he could grab it, their dad, who had stood up slowly, kicked him to the ground. Ignoring everyone's shocked gasps, Dad sat back down, glanced at the disheveled Nathan with a blank expression, and said coolly, "Keep watching." The TV returned to the second memory. I groggily opened my eyes and found myself in an abandoned warehouse. I tried to move but realized my hands and feet were bound. Nearby, I heard intermittent sobs. I followed the sound and saw a frightened 16-year-old Lily in a school uniform, crying in the corner. At that moment, I didn't know what had happened. I only remembered that after leaving school, someone put a bag over my head. The next thing I knew, I was waking up here. "Lily! Lily!" I shuffled over to her, wanting to ask what had happened. Lily was crying too hard to speak. She gestured with her chin, and I looked in that direction, seeing an unconscious Nathan lying nearby. Judging by his condition, he had been severely beaten. This memory was probably from the time Nathan and a few others were kidnapped. Dad frowned, piecing it together. A cold smile formed on Nathan's face. She really has the nerve to use this as her most vivid memory, he muttered, finally feeling triumphant. I floated in the air, my expression indifferent, a cold smile lingering on my lips. I suddenly felt a wave of anticipation. Now I was curious about Nathan's reaction when he learned the truth. After all, this was the second gift I had prepared for them. Dad, maybe we shouldn't watch this, Lily said from her hospital bed, her voice shaky and worried. There's something I didn't initially notice. I don't want to watch anymore, she added. I don't want to remember the kidnapping. Dad, I'm scared. Seeing the terror on Lily's face, Nathan felt a pang of pity and pulled her into his arms. Dad, if you have any anger, take it out on me. Can't you see how scared Lily is? What more is there to see? Isn't it just like Lily said? The selfish jerk ran off to save himself, leaving us behind, and ended up getting what he deserved. She even admitted it herself. It's all Nathan's fault. Before he could finish, Nathan's own voice came from the TV. This idiot got involved with those guys, messing with some woman who had a man. He deserved the beating. But why drag me into this? I didn't make him go and be a backup. I was supposed to go to karaoke with friends that night, but thanks to Nathan, Lily had snapped. Her voice filled with venom as she glared at the unconscious boy beside her. There was no trace of sibling affection in her expression, only anger and blame. In the hospital room, Nathan, who had absorbed every word, looked utterly stunned. Instinctively, he pushed Lily away, unable to believe such cruel words had come from his own sister. He probably couldn't wrap his head around the idea that he mattered less to her than a night out with friends. Seeing his reaction, Lily panicked. She grabbed his sleeve and hurriedly said, "It's not like that. I was just so scared at the time, so I complained. Don't be mad at me." Nathan didn't respond. Normally, he would have forgiven her instantly, but now his expression showed something different. Distance, maybe even betrayal. Watching them from above, I couldn't help but laugh. Seeing the once inseparable siblings turn into strangers gave me an unexpected sense of satisfaction. Nathan's eyes returned to the TV. On screen, the scene shifted again. I was slowly inching toward Nathan, observing the thugs surrounding us. Drinking, gambling, their rough appearances intimidating. I carefully checked Nathan's condition as I got closer. The more I saw, the worse it looked. His face was covered in blood. Someone must have hit him on the head with a stick. The wound had already scabbed over, but his face was bruised and swollen, marked by countless footprints. I still didn't know exactly what Nathan had done or why these people had tied us up, but I couldn't help but assume the worst. We needed to find a way to escape. I moved my wrists, frowning at the pain caused by the rope's friction. Under Lily's shocked gaze, I skillfully slipped my hands free from the loosely tied knot. The rough rope had cut deep into my skin, leaving bloody marks, but I didn't make a sound. Quietly, I untied the ropes around my feet and scanned the area carefully. Eventually, I spotted a narrow dog hole near some clutter in the corner. "I'll crawl through that dog hole and find someone to call the cops," I whispered to Lily. "You stay here and keep quiet." Lily suddenly panicked when she realized I was about to leave. "No way, you can't go alone. Take me with you. Don't leave me here alone." She got so worked up that I quickly covered her mouth, afraid she'd draw attention from the thugs. "What about Nathan?" I asked, bringing him up on purpose. I thought Lily might reconsider. After all, Nathan had always cared for her. But she didn't. "Who cares about him?" She shoved my hand away, glaring at Nathan with disgust. "If it weren't for him, would I even be caught here? This place is filthy. My hands are already cut from the ropes. Who knows if they'll get infected? He messed with the wrong people and got beaten up. He dragged me into this. Why should I suffer for him?" I wasn't really surprised by her words. Deep down, I had always known Lily was the kind of person who would sacrifice others to save herself. "Well then," I said coolly, "you can untie me and you stay here. I'll go find help. No way. She almost instantly rejected the idea. I had a gut feeling if I let her go, she wouldn't look back. She wouldn't care about Nathan's or my life. Stay put. I'll be back soon. I didn't waste any more words with her. Seizing the moment while the thugs were distracted, I crawled out through the dog hole. Once outside, I looked around to get my bearings, but I hadn't made it far before I heard Lily's voice shouting from inside the warehouse. Someone's escaping. Quick, go catch them. At that moment, it felt like I froze. Frozen in place, cold all over, my mind going blank. I didn't understand why Lily had done that, but one word echoed in my mind. Run. The thugs came after me fast, chasing me through the woods. I tripped countless times, running until I was completely exhausted, but too scared to stop. They soon caught up and surrounded me, hitting and kicking me. That moment brought me back to 6 years ago, to the countless dark times I had been beaten. At some point, someone tore off my school uniform, and as the cold air touched my exposed skin, it felt like my heart was being crushed. Don't let her looks fool you, one of them sneered. This girl's got some fight in her. Someone grabbed me roughly by the hair, dragging me backward. Wanna help avenge the boss? They grinned wickedly. I tried to get up and run, but I was held back, my hair pulled tightly. Nathan messed with the boss's girl, so let's mess with his sister. I don't know who started it, but they dragged me by the hair to a patch of grass. I screamed, I pleaded, but those men didn't see me as human. They covered my mouth, grabbed my throat, and tore at me mercilessly. By the time the sun set and the moon rose, my tears had dried. My voice was gone. They left me in the dirt like discarded trash. I don't remember how long I lay there before waking up in the hospital. Some villagers had found me and called the police. Back in the hospital room, Nathan sat silently, red-eyed, and turned away from Lily. His head was down, motionless. The lies had been fully exposed. Lily's face was pale, but she still clung to a shred of hope. She tugged at Nathan's sleeve, her voice trembling. No, listen to me. What more is there to explain? Nathan shook off her hand, grabbed her shoulders and screamed. Didn't you say Ava escaped on her own? Why didn't you tell the truth? Do you think our lives are worthless? Only Lily's life is precious? What did I ever do to wrong you? Ava treated you so well. How could you do that to her? How could you push her into the fire pit? Lily laughed bitterly. Push her into the pit? Nathan, I'm just a bit selfish. But who's the real culprit behind Ava's current state? The truth hit hard. Lily had revealed her true self. Did I tell you to push Ava down? Did I tell them to catch her? The person responsible for her condition is you, she continued, her voice sharp. She's dead now. What's the use in pretending? Can she hear you? You're calling her Ava now. Nathan's voice cracked. But how did you describe her to me behind her back? You called her filthy. Said the scars on her body made you sick. Said she should have died back then. How dare you blame me for hurting her? Lily's mocking words stabbed at Nathan's heart. He stood there trembling. Then suddenly he dropped to his knees, completely breaking down, holding his head in his hands. There was deep regret in his eyes. For the first time I was wrong. I've wronged Ava. I shouldn't have been so harsh. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have abandoned her. But I was so scared. I feared she'd come back and expose me. I'm her brother but never acted like one. I brought her to this state, and still said she deserved it. Wished she died outside. I deserve to die. I deserve it. He collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. Watching his breakdown, I felt no sympathy. All the memories played out, they didn't know it yet, but they were being cursed online by millions worldwide. Mom seemed unable to accept my suffering. She covered her mouth, nearly fainting. How did this happen? Why didn't she tell us? Her mom. Why did she keep it all to herself? Because you never believed her. My usually silent dad finally spoke. His voice was hoarse. Your heart was always biased. Out of the three, Nathan, Lily, and Ava, You always favored the first two. But there wasn't a single time you chose Ava without hesitation. Dad nearly crushed the remote in his hand, veins bulging in his neck, shaking with a stoic face. Even now, knowing her suffering, you still blame her. You don't deserve to be Ava's mom. And neither do I deserve to be her dad. Dad got up shakily from the sofa, almost falling several times. Watching him, I felt a painful squeeze in my chest, like my soul could feel pain even now. No. You're the best father, the one who loves me the most. I reached out to embrace him, though my arms fell short. His tears, though untouchable, felt like they burned into my heart. He's undeniably my father, the one who has always been my rock during those 6 lost years. When everyone else had given up, he stayed strong. His hair turned gray almost overnight, weighed down by guilt from losing me. Despite his demanding work, once he found me, he never missed a single day without calling. He was my constant, the one who always believed in me when I was struggling emotionally from the trauma I faced. He stayed by my side for 24 hours straight, setting everything aside. When my mother hesitated about pursuing justice, he stood firm, even considering extreme measures to ensure those responsible would be held accountable. "Let's get a divorce," he declared. "What?" Mom looked stunned, unable to believe her ears. "I said let's get a divorce." Dad took a deep breath and pulled out divorce papers from his briefcase. "I don't want any assets. We'll divorce. I'll take Lily's ashes and leave. I'm not a competent father. I'll spend the rest of my days praying for Lily, wishing she has a happy, healthy next life, free from parents like us." He declared resolutely and walked away. Mom stood there in shock until she saw him leave the ward without a backward glance, then collapsed. How did it come to this? Ethan, never anticipating this outcome, clenched his teeth in anger. It's that horse's fault. Why didn't she die when they violated her? Why did she survive? Why do people still despise her, even in death? His rant ended abruptly when a bottle struck his head, causing him to fall off the bed. His recently healed leg hit the floor hard, making him scream in pain again. "Mom!" He stared wide-eyed at the mother who had thrown the bottle, terrified. Not only him, but even I had never seen Mom look like that. "Why wasn't it you who died? Why Lily? Why are you so selfish, never allowing Lily a moment of peace? Why did I even have you? If it weren't for you, just Lily, wouldn't our family be whole? Would your father have even considered divorce if it weren't for you?" Mom transformed into a frenzied person at that moment. She stood up and began hitting and kicking Ethan. Grabbing his neck tightly, she viciously exclaimed, "Your father was right. I'm not fit to be Lily's mother, and you don't deserve to have a sister like Lily. You ruined her. You ruined me. You destroyed our family. Since I brought you into this world, let me send you to apologize to Lily now." "No." Ethan desperately kicked his legs, but he had just undergone surgery and hadn't fully recovered. Where could he find the strength? His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Tears streamed down his face. Shortly after, his eyes widened, and he stopped moving. Ethan was dead, killed by his own mother. Mom lost her sanity. She couldn't accept that her favoritism had led to my death. She couldn't accept our father leaving her. She couldn't accept that she had just killed her own daughter with her own hands. She was admitted to a mental hospital where she rambled day and night. "Has anyone seen my daughter? I need to find my Lily. Mom was wrong. Will you forgive Mom? Don't leave Mom all alone." Dad was sometimes clear-headed and sometimes confused. He couldn't come to terms with reality. He couldn't accept that his family had fallen apart overnight. He drank all day and lived in grief. In the end, he was found naked and bruised, frozen to death under a bridge. I thought I would feel avenged. Thought I would disappear from this world after achieving my goal, or maybe be reincarnated. But I didn't. My soul floated beside Dad, watching him shave his head and carry my ashes. He bowed with every step as he climbed to the mountain temple. The abbot asked him what he sought. He replied, "I just want to light a lamp for my daughter, and spend the rest of my life praying for her happiness and peace in her next life." Felt like something was calling me. My consciousness began to blur. The moment I lost awareness, I seemed to see Dad smiling at me. "Daddy's Lily, may your next life be peaceful, joyful, with a happy family, an always supportive mother, a father who loves you forever and ever."